Hi guys, welcome to the channel. This is Niladri Mukherjee and I am a regulated Canadian immigration consultant. I practice in Mississauga, Ontario. I have received quite a few decisions, quite a few positive decisions of late for my clients from IRCC. I thought to talk about a few cases for you to get an idea how long these kind of cases usually take. Let's talk about the interesting one. And I'm not really referring to all the cases. I have been picking and choosing some of the interesting ones, so that a little complicated cases for you to get an idea as to how long IRCC usually taking to handle these kind of complicated cases, to give decisions on these kind of complicated cases. Number one case that I'm going to talk about is a startup visa client from India. The client approached me in the month of January 2022. We have received the letter of support from the designated incubator in the month of February or March 2022, submitted the work permit application in the month of April end or May 1st, 2022, received the approval of the work permit a couple of days back. So about 3 to 4 months kind of a processing time you are looking at for a startup visa if you've already received the letter of support from the designated incubator. Now, if you're coming to me for a consultation from that very stage to the work permit, for a decision on work permit, you're typically looking at about 6 to 7 months kind of a time at this point in time. So this is the typical turnaround time that you should be looking at. It is not only the IRCC processing time, but you need to give us, the consultants or the lawyers that you end up working with, time to prepare a completed foolproof documents as well. Overall, from coming to me for a consultation to receiving a decision for this particular clients took about 10 months because we invested a lot of time in making sure that an application is being submitted. The application is submitted like the way it is submitted. But if you just purely talk about IRCC processing time, it is about 3 to 4 months for the work permit. It's a complicated case because there are 4 co-founders, and once there are more than 1 co-founders, obviously the volume of application increases. All the work permits need to be in sync, and all the applications need to be approved or need to be getting a decision at the same time. So once there are more than co-founders, the volume of work even at IRCC's end increases as well. But even then, we have managed to receive the decision within a span of 3 to 4 months, which I think is pretty amazing. Important for you to understand is that after I submitted that application within 2 months, I have proactively raised the case for a GCMS notes. Now that I have received the GCMS notes literally yesterday, but I have received the decision on their approvals already. But in my opinion, the GCMS note really made sure that they actually work on that application, because a lot of those applications, they do not work unless and until they're being pushed, and unless and until IRCC is being pushed in some way or the other. And in this particular case, GCMS notes really work. So that's for the startup visa client. Secondly, I'm talking about the spousal sponsorship application. It is an interesting application because the client is in Canada. He got married to somebody who changed many countries in the past few years, right? So getting PCCs from all those countries has been a tremendous task for the client, and hence it took a lot of time for us to submit a completed application. I have not received the approval or any decision on that application yet, but it's in the final stages of the verification and all the processing at IRCC's end. So I'm expecting to receive the decision sometime by this year end. So keeping that in mind, though IRCC is saying the processing time for spousal sponsorship is about 22 months on that portal, realistically speaking, I see a decision timeline of about 16 to 17 months for a complicated yet completed application. So if you are somebody that is planning to lodge a sponsorship application, this is a timeline that you should be keeping in mind, even if your situation is a little bit complicated. I would imagine for a simple application, you should be receiving a decision within 14 to 15 months. That's my guess, right? Visitor visa, a lot of cases for visitor visa, but I'm going to talk about somebody that is coming from Nigeria to give birth in Canada. The clients have been refused. The husband and the wife have got their visitor visa refusals 3 times. They came to me when they wanted to do the application for the 4th time. First 2 times they have done the application by themselves, and it was incorrect applications in both the cases. Second time they have taken help from a local consultant or a local agent, whatever you call it. That person completely jeopardized the application as well. So 3 attempts went in vain. They came to me. I applied for the GCMS notes, the reasons become clear, submitted the application, got a decision within about three weeks kind of a time zone, which for Nigeria is pretty amazing. And 3 weeks, again, just to make sure that everybody understands, is not a common timeline. I do end up working with a lot of clients from Nigeria, and the typical processing time for a visitor visa from Nigeria is about a few months, easily 3 to 4 months. In this particular case, I would imagine that the clients have already received their biometrics because this is a fourth application. So the client did not have to go for the biometrics. Most of the information IRCC had already in store. They just had to process that application from a new point of view, and I'm thankful that they did. So for this very specific complicated case from Nigeria, after 3 refusals, the fourth time we did it and we got the approval within 3 weeks. A very important and a very interesting win for us of late, right? Study visa. This is probably the most number of applications that we are handling these days. Regardless of the country that you're applying from, typically you keep in mind a processing time of 3 to 4 weeks. You may receive a medical request, you may not receive a medical request. This case that I'm trying to talk to is a client that is coming from the Philippines. She has already worked with a local consultant and have received a refusal. That time she had applied alone. Why? But she's married, she's 35 plus, her husband is about 40. Because the local consultant had told her that do not apply with your husband, it would be refused. She came to me for a consultation. We analyzed the case, and I had strongly suggested her to apply with her husband the next time. So I made that application where she's coming here as a student and her husband is coming here on an open work permit, and the applications got approved. The processing time at IRCC's end is actually pretty long in this particular case, and this took me about 4.5 months after raising the GCMS notes. So I do not think everybody from Philippines is seeing this kind of a processing time, but this case is a little bit more complicated case. The wife is a divorcee, so there is a lacking of couple of papers as well at their end. So that took a little bit of time. But for this case, it's an interesting and complicated case and a very interesting win for me personally. That took me about 4.5 months. So something for you to consider if you're applying from the Philippines for a study visa. AIPP work permit approval. Or a decision, I'm sorry. AIPP work permit decisions, the recent client that I've applied for, the client is still in India. He did not even come to Canada as yet. And we have received the decision for a work permit under APP, Atlantic Immigration Program, under 2 months. This is a phenomenal. This is amazing. But it's in line with the expectation as well. Atlantic Canada is probably one part of the country that is needing the workers most. And for a technology worker, for somebody that is in tech, I know the technology is in demand in Canada. It's a no-brainer that if you submit a good application, the work permit would be approved. And in this case, it got approved within 2 months. So these are some of the approvals and the timelines for some of the cases that we work with. This is not really a conclusive sort of a thing, because we do end up working with a lot of clients, and it really does not make sense to share all these timelines with you. So these are some of the interesting ones. Hope this helps. If you need professional assistance, drop me a line, contact@nuvonation.ca. See you guys in the next one. Bye now.